We're going to create a column for our courtyard now. And I've decided that it's better that we create this column in a completely separate file, and we will import this column later when we're ready. So what we're going to do is bring in an image of this column, and we're going to use it as a background to trace over the column itself. Let's go here and create, to start with, a plane where we're going to place our column. So we'll create a plane here in the front view. And it doesn't really matter what size it is for now, because we're going to scale our column later on. So bring up Explorer. You should find in your startup folders a image called Doric column, PNG. You can click and drag that image onto the face of the plane that we just created. Now it looks pretty messed up right now. You can see there's a whole bunch of lines here in the perspective view. What we need to do is to place a modifier that we'll see much more later on when we do materials. That's a UVW map modifier. So we'll scroll down here and go to UVW map. And what we need to do is remove a little check here where it says real world map size. Now, although we don't really see the whole thing here, I can tell, well, there you can tell very clearly now that this column is pretty distorted. So what we need to do is actually find the proportions of the bitmap. So we can select here bitmap fit, go back and in your startup files, find that PNG file again and open it. And what that'll do is it will scale or proportion things correctly. Now let's go ahead here and right click in the front view to see. There's our column. Now if it really kind of bothers us that we see more than one, we can just go back here into the plane level of our object and adjust the width. And we're ready to start working on our column. We're going to trace out our column now and then create a profile of the column which we're going to rotate about its center point. So let's enlarge the front view. We want to make this image of our column as large as possible in our viewport. So let's start drawing our line now. Go into Create, Shapes, Line. For the time being, what we'll do is draw a very straight line, and then we'll do some modifications later on. So let's start here roughly in the center. And like I say, just do your best to follow the profile here. And when you come to our curved element, just add a couple of vertices each time you have an arched element. And we'll use those later on. Okay, so moving my way up, column, and finish off here. Oops, missed one up there. So if it's getting too close here and they're going one on top of the other, just exaggerate it a little bit and then come back to the center. Good. So zoom in now, go into the Modify panel, go to the vertex level of the line, click on your vertex, and you can now move these vertices using the move command so that they're more on the actual points that you want. This one's not quite right. And again, as I indicated before, for a curve here, we're just going to use a single point at the apex of a curve, and then we'll play with that a little bit later on. So just go ahead and go through your entire model like that. So one point at a time. And you can see also how I'm manipulating the gizmo of the move tool, trying to move only in one direction at a time. It's much easier to control the movements of your vertices that way. So let's place this approximately here, and this one here will just move over that way. Okay. And this, I think that bottom one has been moved over a little bit too far. So let's go down and move that more into the center. And I'm using this little ornament here on the column as a reference for my center. Okay, so there's our profile. Now I noticed there was one point here where we could probably use another vertex. Right there. So if we want to add another vertex, just find here in our rollout button called Refine, and we'll just click on our line and it'll add a new vertex. If we wanted to delete a vertex, first we'll right click to get out of Refine, just select a vertex and then hit delete at the keyboard. In this case we don't want to do that, we just want to move this into position.